Welcome to the R7 podcast, sponsored by M is Good. R7 is an innovative, God-inspiring process that explores personal and professional purpose. R7 analyzes 7 strategies to transform your vision and find direction in your organizational marketing. R7 establishes clarity and guidance for the gift we call life. Welcome to the R7 podcast. It's been actually a week since we shot our last podcast. And, on this podcast, R7, we talk about destiny, vision, strategy, brand, communication, think, which is also pray. And then step 7, take action. Today, we have a generational podcast where we're going to be talking to the Dave's sons. Let's go. So two athletes heading on to college. Today we really want to focus in on vision and what vision means to this next generation of Daves.
Yeah. But their names aren't Daves.
Yeah. Super pumped to have you guys on. Jackson is a D2 soccer goalie, and Brady is headed to Utah, the Utes in Salt Lake City. I'm going to be playing hockey there, playing defense for the Utah Utes, which is super exciting. So, guys, I want to open up with a question for you. And, just looking at your life, I'll start with you, Jackson. Yeah. In terms of vision, we think about vision as a clearly written image of your future. There's obviously, a lot more to you as a soccer player, specifically a soccer goalie. But what do you see as far as your vision of excelling through life? What do you see?
I would say I have a couple of plans. First is to push as much for soccer. Put as much effort into that as I can. If it doesn't work out, get a degree, and I'd like to stay in sports. I think my major is probably going to be sports management, so stay in the sports realm because that's pretty much I've known that my whole life. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Brady?
Yeah, for me, like my plan for school is I'm going to be doing entrepreneurship. I've never really saw myself working for anybody, like my whole life. And I don't know, I just want to go create and build something. And I don't really know what that's going to be yet, but got time to figure that out. So.
Awesome. So when you think about I think about when I grew up and I think about, I'm going to do things better than my dad. Right. And there's things that my dad doesn't do well, and things my dad didn't do well. I kind of always looked at it. I don't know how you feel, Dave, but you just want to be, I don't know, just different or better than your dad. And you go, okay, what do I want to change? What was it for you, right, Dave, that you wanted to change and be better?
I think, I had a really good role model as a dad. I mean, nobody's perfect. So, he definitely had his shortcomings for sure. But, I remember as a kid looking at my dad, who was full-time outside salesman for a really large Fortune 500 company. I would ask him, Dad, why don't you want to be the president? He was like, I don't want to be the president. I don't need all those eyes on me. I want to do what I want to do. And I remember as a young child saying, I want to do that better. I want to be in a position of leadership to drive strategy, to figure out where we're going to go, and to sit in that seat. And when I look back now at my career, that's been a huge rocket booster for me and trying to be better there for sure. And much like our boys, soccer was very different in the U.S. when I was a kid, and I wanted to play for the U.S. national team. That was my thing. I caught that real early on, and that was something I wanted to do. But, back to your question, when I thought about my dad, it was I want to be in a more of a leadership role within whatever organization I'm a part of. How about you?
Yeah, I just knew that I wanted to be patient. I always felt like my dad, whenever my dad tried to explain something, and I think Brady kind of saw this, he would try to explain something I wouldn't understand. And so he would just yell louder. And he would just, with more frequency. yell louder with more frequency. And I thought, if I'm going to teach or I'm going to do something, I want to kind of not yell. And so this is where that emotional intelligence has come in over the years, and really just exploring that and just being high EI in certain situations where, yelling doesn't help. It just makes it more frustrating.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of wanted to lower the temperature in the room. That was and then my dad was in business for himself. And I never really thought about it, but it just kind of happened. Like what my dad revenue wise did in a year, I now 2x in a month. And I think I broke the generational curse, man. Like if there was a poverty curse, I broke it. And I'm like so thankful that was able to happen. And I always just like, except for the grace of God, there go I. Yeah. In fact, I was telling Brady, like, if you follow the same pattern as I did, what we do in a year, you can do in an hour.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Brady, I'd love to hear you on this, like, and Jackson will come to you after Brady, but like, what would you do better?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that's like big, if that's the expectation, that's some big shoes to fill.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, I don't know. I guess I look up to you like a lot in business wise. Like, you've obviously created something very like good for yourself. And like, I'm obviously very grateful for it, like things could be a lot different. And like, who knows, like hockey is a very expensive sport. So I could be doing something a lot different. I don't know. I just feel like for you, like, I feel like you're like, go, go, go all the time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like this weekend, like for like example, like mow the grass. It's got to get done now. And then like you were pressure washing from like 10 to like 6 at night, like 10 in the morning to 6 at night. It's like, dude, like you can take 2 days to pressure wash. Like you don't have to like grind it out all in one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just like, for me, almost like, I don't know, like have like just like a step back almost. And like, cause I feel like, I don't know, it's just like almost like reflecting on things. So I feel like you're just kind of like go, go, go all the time. And like whatever happens, happens.
So you feel like to make things better that you would relax more.
Yeah. I would relax more and like take a step back, like,
and appreciate things. Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Take a step back to analyze like what's going on versus just like being like, oh, nope, this is what I'm going to do. And we're just going to go and grind it out. You know what I mean? Okay. It's like, okay, well, why did that happen? And then can I learn from it to make it better?
Awesome.
So I love that. I love that. And Brady, your dad is probably one of the most intense men of action I know. If it's going to be done, it's going to be done right now. Let's go now.
Yeah. So that's my answer. It'd be take a step back and like analyze before we like, and like make a plan instead of, nope, this is what we're going to do right now. We're going my way, the highway, my way or the highway. It's like, okay, well, there's some other ways we can go about this, So
good. Jackson, vision your life. What would you do to make it better, different than your dad? Like,
I think same as like, not same as Brady said, but my dad is very business sided too. Looked up to him in that. Just remember when I was little, going big long business trips all around the world, going to like China, getting stuff back from that. And it was just cool to see him go around the world. But so I looked up to that. Obviously, the sports side, he got me into soccer. And my older brother, Hudson, kind of helped with that too because we were right around the same age. But, yeah, I don't really know. I would say the work trips were long, so I feel like I would try to spend more time with family.
One of the things that I really appreciate about your dad, Jackson, is that he is very strategic and he's very calculated. And when he does talk, I feel like there's meaning behind it. He's not just randomly talking, which I really
Yeah.
love about him and that side of things. Like, I've often thought about if he were to come in as Emma's Good, he'd be a great teacher and counselor, you know. But it's just interesting to see, like, from the next generation, like, God forbid, I mean, someday we're going to be gone, right? And you're going to look back and you go, what would I do differently with my, that my dad did, and how can I make the world better?
Yeah.
So it's a fun conversation or fun thing to think about, of how you can move the dial. Let's switch gears here for a second. Let's talk about, you guys are exceptional athletes, right? And you've had to sacrifice at some point, whether it's girlfriends, drugs, partying, you've had to sacrifice to get where you're at. And, when the world out there is woke, right? And there's this whole DEI movement, and, that you have to be patient with other people's feelings. And a lot of time there is no vision. It's just how you feel. And, I want to hear your perspective, Brady, on, how has that impacted you, or how has it not impacted you as you've sacrificed to, go to the next level in your sporting career?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I feel like moving away from home was like the big wake up call for me. You know what I mean? Because like in North Carolina, it's like, oh, I just won a national championship. Like, I'm a hot shot. You know what I mean? Like, and then like I moved there, and it's like you're going up against some Minnesota commit, and it's like, oh yeah, no, dude, you're not that good. Like the number 1 overall pick this year, Celebrini. Like, I played him 2 years ago, and like he's just like steps like ahead of like everybody, and like he's like my brother's age. Like, he's an 06. Like, it's like, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean? But like, I would just say, like, for me, like, going back to your question, like, sacrificing, like, my coach, like one of the coaches that I was at my like prep school, like, he was like, dude, like, if you don't like get in the gym and like get after it, like, you're done playing hockey. Like, there's no way. I was like, all right, well, I don't really have a choice here. It's either, like, I want to keep playing the sport, like I love playing, then like it's time to like sacrifice everything. And I just remember like going into like my final year there, like it was 2-a-days, 5 days a week from April to September.
Wow.
And like just the way like I carried myself and like was able to transform like my body and like everything, like I was just like steps ahead everybody else. Like, if we went into the corner, like I was coming out with the puck. Like, there's, you know what I mean? So, and then like my buddies obviously at home, they're like, let's go party, let's go drink, let's go do this. And I'm like, all right, dude, like we can go do that, but like I gotta go work out first. That, you know what I mean? And then like I'll drive you guys. You know what I mean? Like and like obviously like nobody really wants to do that job. You know what I mean? So like they kind of look at it as like, oh yeah, okay, sweet, cool. So like I could still kind of be like a part of like everything, but also like not at the same time, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't doing like all this like stupid stuff that they were doing. It was almost like babysitting in a way, but I was still there.
Yeah, so let me just make sure I understand what you're saying, and Dave, help me out here. But what I hear you saying is like that whole woke mentality out there really didn't have a factor on you. You just said, "Here's the next level I need to get to, and that's what I'm going to go do." That's a vision, man. Like, that's a clearly written image of your future, or clearly not maybe written, but like, vivid expression of your future, what you wanted to become, and the mentality that's out there just didn't have any bearing on you. This is what I'm doing. I really don't care.
Yeah. I would just say like, the world is like very selfish. So if you don't apply to like my needs, then like there's a problem with you. It's not the problem with me, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So like for me, like I kind of had to like worry about myself first versus like with all my like buddies, they're like, yeah, let's go do this. And like, this is cool nowadays. So let's go do this. And it's like, no, dude, like I got to worry about myself first. And like put myself first versus like put you first, if that,
Mm-hmm.
But like I had to do that. too.
Well, I think I think it's interesting though, Brady, because Dave, as you and I have talked about this, when you get your hands on or your heart plugged into a clear and compelling vision that we've talked about before, the biology of a clear and compelling vision about being tied into the limbic system of your brain.
Yeah.
And you look at that vision, and I'll talk about you, Brady, through the kind of rungs of, moving away, private school hockey, juniors, D1 hockey, whether it's AHL, NHL, whatever, like those are steps. And if you're clear about that, like you talked about, everybody has to come to that point, that come to Jesus point where they go, man, like your coach said, you're going to have to get bigger. You're going to have to get faster. You're going to have to spend time in the gym. And you have to decide, am I willing to do that or not? And there's trade-offs. And that trade-off is going to be Friday night, maybe sometimes being out with your friends. The trade-off's going to be unpopular. The trade-off's going to be people making you feel guilty about the fact that you're going to go do these other things only because they're envious of you, because they wish they could have that opportunity. But if you have that clear vision, you know where you want to go. Like I saw a reel this last week where Tiger Woods was talking that during his heyday, like during the Tiger Slam, he was getting up, running 4 miles, lifting in the gym an hour and a half to 2 hours, then hitting like 400 balls, then spending time on a short game, then going back and running 4 more miles, and then playing like tennis with a friend. And that was his day, he said, every single day for a long time. I started wrapping my head around that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's insane. But think of everything he said no to, and then everything that he accomplishes and happens. Nothing's by accident. You just don't wake up one morning and you're amazing. It's like that stat, Dave, like we talked about many podcasts ago, a couple of years ago, the whole idea of child-specific all-stars, right?
Yeah.
That there's such a small, if you're a parent, you're listening to this, you've seen child-specific all-stars. Heck, you may have one of them. The reality is, I want to say it was over 90% of child-specific all-stars. It was like 95 maybe. Never make it at the pro level. So the majority of those athletes that you're watching on TV or paying a lot of money to buy a ticket to go see are ones that gradually got better over time and did what all the coaches are telling you to do. Put in the time and figure it out. They didn't just show up because they were gifted at one point. They had to work for it.
Yeah. So, this podcast, Jackson and Brady, is really for people that are building a Christian organization, whether they're a pastor or a ministry leader. And when we talk about vision, it's that clearly written image of your future, something you're chasing. And you guys have experienced this. That's why it's so cool. Is that, Jackson, you've sacrificed, right? Brady, you've sacrificed. And when it comes to hearing the word of God and kind of going after it and building an organization, whether it's Christian or not, there's sacrifice. There's things you got to do, right, in order to build it. Otherwise, it doesn't get built. Yep. You can think of your athletic journey as like an adolescent child. So that would be, what's adolescence like? What would be the top age of adolescence? Like a 6-year-old child, okay? That your development is always begging for more, right? And if you don't eat right, if you don't sleep right, if you don't get your nutrition dialed in, if you don't work out, what happens?
Stay the same.
You stay the same. And so you've got to develop that constantly every single day. And your vision's the same way. Building an organization is the same way. It needs constant attention all the time. Where it gets interesting when you build up an organization where it's big enough, you have enough people and enough eyes on it where that, the adolescence sort of, tamed a little bit, but it's still running around. It's just more people are thinking about it. But when it comes to your development, it comes to just, not having any employees, you have to think about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't think about it, it dies. It doesn't get attention, and then the marketplace either runs it over, with somebody else who's thinking about it, or somebody else comes in with more money and just, just basically bullies it over with cash, and you just get swallowed up and you don't exist, kind of thing. Dave, does that Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, again, I mean, as you go forward, it's like people say, rent's due every day. You got to get up, whether it's working out or training and practicing or whatever. And that doesn't mean there are any rest days. I think there's wisdom, Brady, to what you talked about earlier about taking a second and considering alternative options when you're solving a problem. But you have to have that same time, that passion and that fire that's burning every day about, I'm going this direction. There is no one that's going to stop me. I remember feeling that same way when I wanted to play in college too. And I was like, I am going to college. I'm going to play. I am going to do this. There's no other option, and, whether you have been on a top team or whether you've had to work your way up again and again and again, rent's due every day, man. Rent's due every day, and you got to pay it.
So Jackson, over to you. I'll ask you the same question for Brady. How would you answer that?
Yeah, I've definitely, I think, made a lot of sacrifices. I would say about ninth grade, we turned schooling to homeschool, so I was home a lot. We tried to just focus straight on soccer, and I feel like the social part of my life kind of went away because you weren't going to school, seeing your friends every day. But I feel like that just made me focus in more on the sport and really trying to get past other guys. Just trying to work my way up because I haven't been on the best team always, and I've had to put in the extra work to get to the top. Yeah, and then I would say same as Raid. I feel like it hasn't really affected me. The whole mentality of the new generation. So, like you said, I feel like almost every person's just doing their own thing, and I feel like I've just done my own thing, not really paid attention to other people's opinions or like thoughts on me, and just try to push as hard as possible.
That's good. Jackson, would you say at this point, has it been worth it? Sacrifice?
So far, yes. I feel like there's going to be more sacrifices in college to come, like going partying or because that's college life, Yeah, just try to, like you said, just clear cut vision on trying to get to the next level at college or even MLS or pro soccer.
Brady, worth it?
100%.
Yeah? 100%. Tell me why.
I mean, I just feel like the work that I've put in has led to different opportunities for me. Like that coach tells me, like, dude, if you don't change, then you're done. And then grinding and being able to play junior and then having that all experience, having another big summer after that, we had 61 players traded from our team. We had 61 guys on our who at least played one game with us. And I was one of 5 people to stay on the team the whole year. You know what I mean? And now I get to go and play college and get a good deal to go there and not be in a bunch of debt, as compared to some other people, just feel like opportunity has been definitely worth it.
So I remember I had so much confidence because I played pro hockey, and I had this really special opportunity where I was playing hockey in Germany, but I was also in the Air Force, and I had there was an opportunity to go from living on the Air Force base to living not on the Air Force base, and I went to my first shirt, and he looked at me. I said, "Hey, I would like to apply for off-base housing," and he looked at me and he said, "Airman Jones, the sun will turn blue before you get off-base housing." And I had so much confidence, and I had ignored so many haters up to that point and people that told me I couldn't do stuff that it just didn't land. It just didn't land. And so I basically said, well, I'm just going to fill out the paperwork. He said, you can fill out the paperwork, but it ain't going to matter. I filled out the paperwork, and 2 weeks later, Jackson, I got off base housing.
Nice.
And I just, that faith, that vision of of what God's called you to do, and stepping out and taking the action and just going for it. Like, I think about Brady, your development, Jackson, your development. I haven't, I've kind of heard from a distance your story, Jackson, but that development is a lot of faith, right? That you have to step out and say, I'm going to put in the work for something that's just not even a guarantee. That 20 or 30 guys, I know Brady's case, hundreds of guys tried to get on that team. And he was one of 6 defensemen. And out of the defensemen, what was there, you were the only one that went all the way through? Or was there another defenseman that was there with you for the whole season?
Me and one other guy.
Yeah. Through 60 some trades. That's all that summer work, that you put in, which is faith and his vision. And so, if you don't put the energy behind it, it's just not going to happen for you. If you quit, that's definitely not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, this is one true thing that'll happen if you quit, and that's, you're not going to make it, and so you have to push forward. You have to put in the energy and the effort and just believe.
I love where you just took this, because for a lot of our listeners, you all that are listening, you have really awesome visions that are great.
Yes.
That God has given you, but not every single person you shared with it have been jumping up and down, that they think either you're capable of it, it's possible, or if it's even a good idea. Right. And, to you knowing that, thinking about Brady and you, Jackson, can you share a time where either a coach told you they didn't think you could do it, to Dave's point, or they maybe even didn't believe in you, and you were able to kind of crash through that wall and make it happen anyway? Brady, can you think of a time?
Yeah, I can start. I've had a lot of those. Like, a lot. I remember going, like, my first year in Minnesota, I played high school hockey, and then I went to that prep team, and like we had like prospect camp or whatever. So and that was during COVID. So like they didn't have like tryouts or anything. So they just like picked the team based on like who they like scouted or recruited. And I was like, and like I was able to get picked like for that team. And it was like during COVID and stuff like that, like I end up going, and like, cause I'm going to go there the next year, and like I do like the 3-day camp or whatever. And like, they bring me into the office to have like the exit interview. And the 2 coaches like bring me in, and they're like, honestly, Jonesy, like that was terrible. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, like, do you even like want to come here anymore? Because like, it's going to be really hard. And like, we honestly don't think that like you're capable of doing this, and like, you're not going to play a lot. And, like, are you sure you want to come here? Like, are you positive you want to come here? And they were like, almost like trying to convince me to like not go. And I was like, oh man, this is weird. Like, I've never had this happen before. And I remember just like coming out of that meeting, like so upset, like, Dad, I know like you were there. Like, it was crazy. And then like by the end of the year, like I was on the power play on like that team, like on the second unit. And like I was playing every game. And then like, obviously like that last year, like that coach telling me like, hey dude, like if you don't like get your act together, like it's done. And I was like, all right, well, I gotta prove myself,
They told me that conversation was happening before it happened. And so
Oh my
I'll
God.
never forget the look of your face when you came out of that meeting. Like, he was just completely devastated. And it was a conversation of, listen, you're going to be on the team, you're just not going to play very much. So you got to play the practice, but like, you're going to have to figure it out. And you just went to work. You just put in the work.
Yeah.
How about you, Jackson?
Yeah. Also, I've a decent amount. I feel like I've been the underdog most of my life because older brother that's 11 months older than me. He was also a goalkeeper, so I feel like everyone was like, "Oh, he's so much better." Just giving him all the praise, and I was kind of like a dark shadow that kind of just passed by. example I would give this past year tryouts. Most recent one I would say is the coach that I have now. We were doing tryouts the year before. He's like, "Yeah, you're definitely making the team. You'll be top 2 goalkeepers on this team next year. You're for sure make it." Tryouts that year, he pulls me aside. He's like, "I feel like you're not taking this seriously. I feel like you fool around too much, and you're gonna be in the second team." After that tryouts, I was really mad because I feel like he gave me a promise, and I feel like I wasn't doing what he was saying. Then I feel like I worked my butt off for that whole fall on the second team. And I got to play UPSL, which is a semi-pro league in soccer. Played on that team, then got moved up to the first team this spring. And then this summer I got rostered on the U23 Jacksonville Armada for semi-pros. So I feel like that whole year was just to try to prove that coach wrong, and now he is my coach. So likes me much better now. He realized that I am not very aggressive. I have very chill personality, and I feel like he didn't get that at that moment.
Yeah, chill before game time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna shut down this podcast. We could talk for another hour on this, but I want to close out here. Dave, can you summarize what happened today with Brady and Jackson? What's the take home?
I think there's a couple of things. I think the take home is, number one, if you have a clear vision, you have to connect your heart to it and push everything else off to the side. Right? You've got to be committed to what you're doing. And I go back to what we said a second ago, rent's due every day. I mean, you cannot take, and this may be unpopular in our woke culture, but you can't take a day off. Like you got to be doing something that's going to get you closer to your goal, because if you're not, someone else is. There's something that was said today where, and it's true, you may think you're really good. I promise you, if there's one thing all 4 of us have learned in athletics, there's always somebody better. Always. Always. I don't care how good you think you are. You show up. It's happened to all of us. You show up and you're like, dang, man, they're way better than me. What in the world? I didn't think that was possible. Well, my little friend, it is. And same things out there in business, same things out there in ministry. If you think you've reached the top of the mountain, God's doing something even bigger, better, even more amazing with somebody else. Figure out how to grow. Figure out what you got to do. Stay focused and develop. It's got to be a daily pursuit. It's not just a once in a while. It's not a couple times a month. It's every day.
So I just want to comment on that. And then, Brady, I'm going to ask you what you got out of this. And Jackson, I'm going to ask you kind of what you got out of the podcast. But I just want to add to this, Dave. What you just said absolutely has fired me up in my athletic career, because there is always somebody more talent. There's always somebody more skilled. Always. Doesn't matter. But what I really got excited about is that there's an opportunity, because you can't really build on your talent, right? You can build on your skill. It takes years to do that. But what you can immediately change right now is your commitment.
Yeah.
I can do that right now, and I can outcommit everybody. I can show up early. I can stay late. I can think about the strategy more than anybody else. I can lay out a plan. I can work on my communication skills. Like I can, there's things I can do. And when I realized that, it turned a corner for me. Because when I look at the talent player, I'm like, I can't compete, but I can outwork them.
Yep.
And that's where I said, you know what, that was a game changer for me. That got me excited.
I love it.
But Brady, what did you get out of today's podcast?
What I got out of it was basically if nothing changes, nothing changes. That's what I would say.
I love it.
If you're not going to do anything about it, then nothing's going to change. So I would just say that would be the quote of the day or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, nothing changes if nothing changes. So awesome. It just kind of depends on what you want. What is your commitment level? You know what I mean? If you're not all in for it, then, you know, somebody else is, and somebody's just, you know, and you may not think that they are, and they could just be behind the scenes, you know? So there's always somebody better. So, and you just got to have the confidence to think that, like, I am the best, like nobody's going to outwork me.
That's right.
You know? So if you can just have that mindset and, you know,
it'll
get
happen.
after it. So
That's it. Jackson.
Yeah, I feel like all three of you said, yeah, you just gotta stay committed. Like you said, you gotta outcommit the other person. I feel like a lot of stories in professional sports is you can feel guilty if you have a day off because you think another guy's out there training 3-4 hours every day. So I feel like, yep, just stay as committed as possible. Put as much effort as you can. And just have that clear-cut vision.
Guys, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. It's really cool. Just an honor to have you guys on and to be part of this. The next generation, which you guys are going to lead, you're going to be presidents, CEOs, maybe congressmen, maybe senator, president of something. And, you know, like the work ethic that you're putting in now. That's what I was saying earlier, Jackson. Like, you're so much bigger than, you know, a goalie in soccer. Like, all the attributes of winning and success and the failures that you've, you know, and Brady, failures and that you've learned through this process will be transferable to something amazing for God. And so
I love it.
I'm thankful for you guys being on the podcast today. And we will, Dave, you want to say final words?
Yeah, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was an honor for us to have our kids on here. And again, we wish them the best. Thank you, guys.
Thanks again for joining us. I want to give special thanks to our sponsor, M is Good. Want to learn more about M is Good? Go to misgood.com. Join us again next week as we continue to uncover the secrets to success with faith-based testimonies and the power of R7. Remember, destiny awaits, but time does not.